Okay, activation. Hi, photo booth. It's me. I'm doing a video. I think I'm not going to have photo booth up though because I'll get distracted. So hey, I'm doing a request video, vlog update because Love for Nature gave me a request today. He did a video. They did a video, Love for Nature Vanilla Dwellers. And they gave me a shout out, so thank you. Isn't that ever so nice? You're living the dream, aren't you? Living out there and working out there, out of the night. So now what am I up to? Okay, so yes, I'll pick up where I left off last time. So last time, I'm there on the computer working, and the computer is doing distracting on me, and then it got really distracting because it had the big window that kept coming up and saying that I had to download Lion, and then I was like, well, yeah, why do I not have Lion? So I downloaded Lion, and then I was doing work on the Dreamweaver, and then it would crash, and so then I found out that it can't work on Lion, and that I cannot go back to Safari or Yellowstone or whatever the other one was. And so I have to go forward by buying Dreamweaver. I got the Dreamweaver in like January of 2011, Dreamweaver CS5, and but now that you can't just buy them, you have to pay the monthly installment. And so I got the whole Creative Cloud package because that's what developers have. I paid, because you only pay $5 extra and you get the whole thing, and so it'd be cool to have all the computer programs, because with my, nice new computer, and then I can watch the tutorials on it and know that I have the program to do all that and do whatever I want, because then, yeah, I'll be like ready to, because it's not just for web design, but it's also for movie making, so I can, for my sanctimonium, I needed that stuff anyway, so, yeah, maybe it'll get me to, maybe I'll do a trailer or something sooner rather than later, But yeah, so then I got the new one on. It took like a week to download that on and then install all those programs because my internet sucks. And like I can't watch videos on Vimeo at all. It's like Vimeo, like what's that? I don't have the good enough internet for that. But so week goes by and then I tried to do Dreamweaver, but I couldn't because when I click on it, it doesn't type. And I didn't get around to calling the tech support on them about that, because another cool thing about this, when you have the monthly installment, is you get free tech support. So you just be like, if you get a snafu, you're just like, that's cool. And Apple too. But, yeah, so then, and then every time I remembered, it was like after hours or weekends. But then I did remember, and I called, and she's like, are you on Live View or Design View? And I was like, because they didn't have Live View on the other one. And so... But I haven't set it up so I can upload yet, and I'll do that now that I'm doing the video. And I'll upload my new KLM files, Google Earth files. Like, because I have cool stuff in Colorado, but nothing's really done. But I have, like, my new project. Let me tell you about my new project. Because, so what happened was, when I did, when I couldn't use Dreamweaver anymore, I immediately got going on the Google Earth stuff all over again, tying up loose ends, because I had all kinds of loose ends on that, so it was just brain candy, It was just mindless tying up loose ends, and now all of a sudden I was like, because I was doing Colorado stuff, and then all of a sudden I was like, I need to have all of the ski resorts in Colorado, and like the runs and everything, so I did all the ski resorts, and then I found out there's like all these other ski resorts that are like extinct. Like there's like 28 ski resorts that are open now, but then there's like 30 more or something that are extinct, and a lot of them are in really cool places and they're like badass ski resorts. Like Silver Plume, their thing went up 3,000 feet and it was all like 60% steep the way down, and gondola, and this is in the 1800s, train service there, so like the rich people from Europe who went on to travels out here in the 1800s, they were living it up. Yeah, and there's this other ski resort that was way up at like 13,500 feet above Aspen, But, and then, all these other ones that like are lower elevation and smaller, I didn't know about. So getting to know Colorado. Finally, I'm like finally looking at Colorado because I haven't been in Colorado really a long time. So I feel like even Boulder. I feel like an outsider. I still feel like a foreigner who just moved here from somewhere else. And also, I don't have any experience of all the new stuff out here either. So it's like, woo, exciting. But so then I decided to do all of the ghost towns of Colorado because that's another interesting thing. And then I remembered about those and saw pictures of them. Some of those are really amazing. Like there's this one that was a big old ghost town they have a good picture of that was just outside of Silverton. And then there's this other one, and I had thought about it before, but then I remembered it later. But it was about there's this ghost town called Caribou, Colorado, about 4 miles west of Netherland. That's at 10,000 feet. It's like there's Caribou, Colorado on the side of the mountain, and then right next to it is the hill that it's next to where they mine, and the hill's like 10,500 feet, and Caribou's like 10,000 feet, and Leadville's like 10,100 feet. So Leadville's like halfway between those two, and it's the highest town in America. There's this one that's like 100 feet higher on the other side, but it's a smaller town. But so Caribou, if you include somebody's house up at the mine, it's the highest town in America. So, and one of like the third highest. So, and Leadville is in existence in those days too. But Caribou started at like 1869, and then got up to, they say, 3,000 people in the 70s, 75, and then there's a good picture of it in 86, and then it burned down in 05. So, had like a lifespan of like 35 years. And I guess in the 20s there were like 40 people who lived there. But so yeah, it was cool. Suddenly I paid attention to that, and all the other ones around Boulder County. It's interesting to think about, because when people think about, oh, I wonder what it was like, because it's pretty wild out here. This is the Wild West. We've got mountain lions out here. But people think, in the 1870s, like 1875, like 10 years after the Civil War, like 5 years after the creation of Germany and Italy, or 5 years before the creation of Italy, like, in those days, like when Europe were a bunch of barbarians, uncivilized barbarians without even formed countries, and on the East Coast, they were having like the Civil War. Out here in Boulder, we had a fully fledged and civilized, fully developed like gambling culture going on, funded by the rich Europeans. We had trains that went from Denver to Central City, way up in the mountains, to Netherland, to Ward. And did it go to Gold Hill too? I don't know, but yeah, trains with people, for the mining stuff. But so just imagine like some rich 10-year-old from, Baron von Munchausen from Prussia, is out on a vacation. And so his badass dad, they go do a bunch of runs over at Silver Plume Ski Resort, down the 3,000 vertical, a bunch of times, and then they go and they check out South Park, and because the train went way up there too, and I think over Loveland Pass, and then they go the train over Loveland Pass in the winter, and then they ski like all the other ski resorts that were there, like in Central City had one, and then they go up and take the train up to Ward, and they check out Caribou for a few days. And they, thinking about investing and stuff, and that's like I think they had the canyon from Boulder Canyon to there done in like 1875. Anyway, yeah, so that's a full on. Even more, I think there are like 20 ghost towns in Boulder County, and they had their own, schools and stuff, and post offices. So, if you want to count it as schools, yeah, more developed than it is now. Yeah, so pretty cool to think about. Yeah, so Caribou had up to, they say, well, some people say 10,000, some people say 5. But then I guess in the websites they say 3,000. Because this is the one that I took interest to, because I decided I was going to do the Google Earth on that. And then I decided I was going to Google Earth Caribou. That's the punchline. I decided that I was going to recreate Caribou on Google Earth, building for building, based off of the pictures that people took of it from their, and do tours and like panoramas from the vantage points. You know what? I'm going to upload it now so people can download and check it out now, even in its unfinished state. But yeah, I'm just going to work on it until I'm done. But yeah, like from all the different vantage points of the pictures, and then like label all the buildings. You know, like all the buildings and all the photos. Say this building is this building on the Google Earth. And then build it up to, based on all of the statistics, keep all the statistics the same, like percentages, like ages, you know, like, you know, that there were 300 and, well, yeah, you know, there were like 119 or 159 kids between the ages of, under the age of 15. So you just maybe get a random number generator, 1 to 15, and then, you know, that percentage for how many people you need, because I'm going to do it for 1,000, because that's how much that's the biggest was officially for the building permanent structures, and then I'll take it up to 3,000 for like the tent people who are there seasonally, like for 75, the biggest it got for 3,000, and that's a good population, because it's interesting how it came about, the whole Caribou project, magically, because over the last months, kind of increasing as time comes in, but the last couple of years or months, and I'm like, as I'm working on my area page on my website and Google Earth stuff, I'm thinking about what does a town look like actually, you know, because now you have Google Earth, and when you add three-dimensional, you know, color-coded towns, like buildings and people in there, you can get a visual idea of something, you know, like a video game. You know how they play those video games? Like Rome, All Out Warfare or whatever, and you see the dudes running around, and you can zoom out and zoom in, and you see the people. So that with Google Earth, exactly, you know, to show the difference between a hamlet and a town, and with very numbers representing certain actual things, and then make them the baseline. For example, I've said before that you know, my city-state would be 4 kilometers. Actually, I even got exact 3.97 kilometers in circumference, because that's how that's what the wall from Mantinea is, which you can still see, tower per tower, you know. So it's like exact, so exact everywhere. So yeah, but if you have a bunch of the old towns like that, you know, in ancient Italy, and you have their red line around their wall, and then you zoom up to 3,000 feet and you're flying over, you can see how close they actually are. And I was thinking, and this is an epiphany people should have, because it's a mind blower, dude. It's a let me blow your mind right now. Okay. Okay, it's good because it's fascinating and it's true. Well, it's the highest form of knowledge, of enlightenment on the earth, is to be able to see the development of the earth from the beginning to the end, and all have one picture of it, like all there, and be able to see the entire development of it, and having a knowledge right there, because it's all at the tip of your mind. And so, you know, like if you're looking at a place and you're saying, oh yeah, I know, like if you're overlooking over a landscape, you know everything about it. You know, so kind of like that. So if you're looking at society, and then you're looking at territory. So and back in the days of when Rome was getting started, the areas of languages are very small. Filiski was about 20 kilometers in diameter, or something like that, 40 kilometers in diameter. And then you had the Latiny, which was like 40 kilometers in diameter. And they spoke Latin. And then the Filiski was different even. And then next door, the Etruscans, which were just in northern Italy, were their own language. And then the Oscans, another language. And so you can kind of picture like every 40 kilometers in the most basic, kind of like wild, rough, like mountains, kind of like Colorado. every 40 kilometers you have like, you know, you'll be able to understand something. And or 20 kilometers, you know, and different people who are, you know, because the reason it's a different language is because nobody's traveled for so many generations that the language just totally changed. Now they fast forward it today, and it's like, wow, isn't that trippy? And then fast forward even more, like maybe 500 years when you have, because I was on Google, I was making future Boulder on Google. I made a building that goes up from, it goes up to the height of the dude was when he jumped off of that balloon. It's like 123,000 feet. And so you can build a building that high, so people just base jump off the building from 123,000 feet and have like 2.5 minute free fall. But in order to build a building that big, you have to have a footprint. I think it was like 6 or 7 kilometers in diameter. It's this big grass patch between Boulder and Longmont. And it looks like a sturdy enough building. It wouldn't get like knocked over. But see, it would be nice to have a building that big because then the spaceships can come in and out. And well, this is assuming we don't have like spaceships with anti-gravity, maybe like the technology right now. But they just take the elevator up and then they can just get maybe catapulted the rest of the way, and you don't even have to use any energy to get to the moon and back. Yeah, so that was one. Yeah, so imagine in that day, and then you have a bunch of other huge skyscrapers around, like one as big as Mount Everest, which I have, and then one as big as Long Peak and that kind of stuff. And so, for those people, like the one that was big as Mount Everest has a diameter of 4 kilometers, which is, so maybe in the future you'll have a building that goes up to 30,000 feet that has a diameter, the circumference of 4 kilometers, and that's just one building. But in the past, like the diameter of 4 kilometers, that was your whole city. And and the view that you can get from the top was like a bunch of languages of people who never even communicate. So standing on top of the building, I'm looking down and just saying, wow, those people just spoke a totally different language in that valley, and those people totally different language, and how isolated they were, and like how easy it would have been for them to just communicate if they were more open-minded and less like dangerous to each other, just because I think you would get really surprised with how small, like in the beginning, I've said this a bunch of times, but in the beginning of the Roman in 753 BC, their kingdom, when they have all the stories of the king and all the intricate intrigues and all that, you think, oh, big kingdom, but it's only like 20 kilometers in diameter. So anyways, and over time, I had been more and more eager to know what a town looks like. And because I haven't put it on my website yet, but I made maps of what different numbers look like, all the way up to 1,000,000, actually 1,000,000 like dots right there, and. But you would even get a better grip of it because you're talking about people in town and stuff, to have the actual houses and the people in the houses, and then you can make what you say, you just see the houses and just the people in there, and then you can do the tour inside the house and look up. I think they even shown that in some movies. Like maybe like when they're talking about can't think of any movie around it. They've had some, and then the guy sees the spirits, and then he doesn't see any of the buildings, just all the spirits. And you see all these like dots, something like that. Like in the X-Men, stuff like that. So it's like that with People Earth. Then you get a really good idea of how big the town is. And so with the town of 3,000 of Caribou, that's a good number because that's how our city-state, our template city-state, Mantinea, Greece, they had a fighting force of 3,000. I think it was Thucydides who said that. So. Who wrote the book about the history of the Peloponnesian War. They had 2 battles there, so 3,000. That's so if you get an idea of 3,000 people, that's a good number of people to wrap your head around. The fighting force, and so that'll be like 1/5 of I would say 1/5 of the entire population of Mantinea, so the typical city-state. So 15,000 people. You have the mother, father, and then 3 kids. Now those 3 kids, one of the kids goes off to the war. That's your rule of thumb. Because even when you look at Caribou, the average person per household there was 4.88. So 5, right? Maybe a little bit less because it was a harsh town. People who died. But yeah, so so I'm gonna I programmed it in so that you see, like, yeah, every person. I'm even gonna name them. I'm gonna name their last names, first names, all the way up to 3,000 people. Well, not the 2,000 tent people, but the townsmen. I will. The families, because you know exactly how many kids there were, how many widows, how many women, how many people over the age of 50, average age, all that kind of stuff, and you just put it in. And it's fun because it's a cool art project. Oh man, it's cool in so many ways because it's a cool art project because you get to perch, and Caribou is the greatest place. Caribou. Let me talk about Caribou really quick because Caribou is the coolest place because it's just this like town that people just built out of nowhere. It existed and then it died. And so, but they built a town. Super civilized, really smart people built it. You know, there were engineers. You know, miners are engineers. So engineers went up there and they had a lot of money. You know, at the time they have a lot of money. They're like gamblers. You know, some people with money they spend it. So they just went in there, built a town out of nothing that had everything. It had like, I think it had like 5 fire hydrants. They had like they built a reservoir. I'm reading in this book called Silver City. Check out at the library. They, you know, with a ditch and the river that went through, and then they had, all the things a town would have. Up to 6 saloons at one point, up to 10 boarding houses and hotels, and like a couple of restaurants, and a post office, a private school, a public school, a red light district with a brothel called the Shoe Fly. Let's see. What else? They had a telegraph office, butchery, you know, bunch of stores. You know, it was a town. A jail. There was one. It was all white people. The Chinese wanted to come, but they were voted out because Chinamen worked for less money, and they didn't want to get like muscled out by the Chinamen. One black man was there, but he attacked an Irishman over food and was beaten to death, and the Irishman was acquitted. And that was the only murder. They had a church, and and so, it was a great town to build a ghost town from because this one picture that this dude did. Just type Caribou, Colorado, you know, and then they're like the biggest pictures, like 2,000 pixels wide in 1886. He stands right on top of a hill called Goat Hill. And you can see the top. You just, you know, you Google Earth where the top is, you go right there, and it's the same vantage point as him. You know, and the other people who take pictures of it from pretty obvious vantage points, other hilltops. So, so it's fun. It's an art project because you get to look at it from his angle. And then you get to compare and adjust stuff around, you know, and be like a portrait artist. I'd never taken that stuff seriously before, and you know, really tried to make an artwork like that, you know, like a realistic looking artwork. So this is exciting. And I think I'm going to just carry it forward until I even build a town, you know, with all the paths and the grass, and make it look cool, because it makes it look really cool when you zoom into it. And then you're looking up at the buildings, and you're in the town, and you're like, wow, this is a big town. You can see it's the same view as they would have then, you know. And so you're recreating the town. You're bringing it back to life, this thing that existed, you know, for some people. Because, I mean, even though it didn't last long, it lasted like the length of a person. Imagine if a person was moved there with daddy when they were with their family, when they were... because there were like, it was like half of the men there were single and half the men were married for a lot of time. But yeah, imagine even there when you're 10, when you're like 1869, and you live there all the way up until like 1885, 86, when it looks like a town like this, and you leave. So you're there for 16, 17 years, so 10 until what, you're 20, 30, like 26, and maybe you're locked in Milo, right? So it's like the town you grew up in and live in forever, and you experience it as a town. The whole time, like it's a town it was an actual town. And so it was cool. It's cool to work on on a art point of view, but also as a historian. Really exciting because, from an artist to make it, and from a person to try to visualize the numbers and the people historian, but also for a historian who looks at the actual archaeological places, because you can see the archaeological places. Like if you look at all the ancient towns, you can see their walls, where the wall outline is. You can see all of the castles that people built, and even ancient excavated necropolises, big palaces and stuff from thousands of years ago, and things that people from thousands of years ago have done. I should do this on a video. Have done to the earth, you know, like digging out reservoirs. That big lake in Egypt, it's a giant lake you can see from space. Well, that's dug out. Herodotus says he dug it out. And all the canals in Egypt, you know, who built them thousands of years ago, and the ones in Babylon, and all that kind of stuff. There's so much to look at. And so you develop a trained eye to know what everything looks like, you know, like the bitumen deposits in the city, and the discoloration of, you know, how when something dies and all of the timber and everything decomposes, and then it provides enough nutrients to build like a big bunch of brushes. Like up there in Caribou, if you look at it, the center part of it, it's just a bunch of brush that's just stands 6 feet high. You probably can't even walk through, and that grew out of the tree composition, you know. And even, you know, there's patches of brush which probably grew out from where the outhouses were up there. Because if you look at it, there's lots of features there. It's a historian's delight up there, because when you develop that trained eye for everything, we have our own thing right in our backyard. Like you look at it and you can see all of the traces of an ancient town, and you get to look at it and see and imagine all the things there, and then build the town off of that the same way as you would do with all of these ancient, you know, really famous sites in the Middle East. We have one right in our backyard that we can look at on Google Earth and imagine the town and all the stuff growing out, you know, and look at see all the stuff that's not natural, like the bushes and then when you look at it, it's just a big, you know, open field. Well, that used to be all trees. It was part of the forest, and they cut out, kind of like when you look at a ski resort, all the cut out runs. While you're looking at that bald patch, that's the town. That entire bald patch is the town. So just you have to fill up the entire bald patch buildings, and then see how many, and then put it five people per building, and then I guess that should say 3,000, right? Because that's how many people they said were there. So that's what I'm doing. And so yeah. So if you have, it's also, and so that's cool for the historian, you know, to be able to have your own thing right up there you can go to and then look at. Because not only on Google Earth you can actually go there yourself and look at, camp out up there, and dig around and feel the energy, you know. I was talking to somebody before, and he went up there. He's like, "Yeah, I can feel the energy of the cemetery up there." But there's even another reason it's really cool in that you get to create your own town. Like you get to have I don't know if there's many other places like this, but you get to have pure creative power, because we don't have that much information, but we do have the stats. So you just keep the stats the same, how many people, who they were, and the limited people's names we know, and building names, and then the limited pictures we have. You know, use that to fill in as much as you can, and then fill in the rest with your own imagination, and you just create a town, and then you're actually rebuilding a real town back to life. And you're going in and looking in, and you're saying, "Oh wow, it was a real big town." So, anyways, that's the original motivation for that came around because I was like, you know, I mean, I'm making stuff. I'm trying to make stuff that would interest me when I start riding my bike around and my motorcycle and exploring things in Colorado. I want to get to know them first. And so, you know, I was doing hot springs in Colorado and the hot tours and all that. And so, to retrace all the mining places here would be a great bike ride to do, to go to all the different mining towns. There's all these little, like, you know, places, you know, balled out places. If you look at Boulder County on Google Earth, you see a bunch of balled out places, you know, like where there's no trees. Like, why aren't there trees? And there's trees everywhere else. Well, that's where the town was. You know, there's lots of places. There's like 100 people, which is a town up, you know, like lots of them. So, like up on tops of towns, you have Gold Hill and other ones. And so, yeah, to recreate it and then ride up through there and having your own historical right here, just like they would anywhere in Europe, you know. We have our own history too that goes back to a bygone era. And then, of course, we have another that should interest endurance bicyclists out here. Another interesting phenomenon is that we have lions and bears. We are more wild now in 2015 with all the technology and stuff we have. We're physically, naturally, we're more wild with the wildlife now than Europe was 2,000 years ago. 2,000 years ago, all the lions didn't really exist. The lions in Europe only existed up until kind of like the border of modern day Western Ukraine. Is about as far west as the lions had made it, according to Pliny, who wrote his book in like 50 AD. So, yeah, by then they had been wiping out lions all over like northern Europe. You know, the Romans brought like 300 lions to Europe for like one party and all that kind of stuff. But you know, in the times of the, you'd have to go back to the times of actually when lions, because lions have play a really big part of our history. If you're religious and you read the Old Testament or the Antiquities of the Jews, you mention that all the time. Like whenever some dude goes missing, it's like, oh, he must have been taken by the lions because they were living in amongst the lions. You know, like dudes would have encounters and fights with lions, or you know, lions lived with people back in those days. You know, like if you go even in Greece, if you go to that ancient town, Mycenae, southern Greece near Argos. They have the big lions right there in the gate. So yeah, they play a part of our history. They're also our best friends. Cats and dogs are our best friends, and so it's a cool thing that out here in Colorado we have all these. We have this. It's like you go out in the mountains and it's like you're in the same world as Josephus was back in the Bible, fighting the lions. But lions do. But the thing is, lions do attack people, and I think that they're starting to attack. We're gonna have more attacks, I think, because the thing is, I developed an interest in them recently. I want to make a map actually about how many lions are, like 1,500 lions probably in Boulder County, I think I read. So, and bears too, just like more bears. So, so to talk about them is good, and no one. Oh yeah, and I think the attacks can go up because when we lived here, like in the time of caribou and stuff, those things like lions were never your friend. Lions are, if you saw an lion, you're going to kill him and you're going to hunt him down. Even you're like, I saw a lion, let's hunt that. You know, because they attack your dog and they attack you and they're dangerous, and also they attack your horses and they attack your sheep and all that stuff. You don't want lions or coyotes or any of that, and so we had that attitude for a really long time, even up through like the 60s or whatever, 50s. And then all of a sudden we got all hippie, especially in Boulder. We got all hippie. We started like, Lord, I live with the deers. Whee! Let's put out salt cubes for the deer. We love the deer, you know. And then with the deer come the lions. And the lions at first, oh, isn't it cute, lions, because nobody ate a lion. Like there wasn't a death from a lion for over 100 years. And then in 1991, in Idaho Springs, my friend Eric's bicycle race teammate on Denver Spoke bike team, Scott Lancaster, was eaten by a lion. Was killed and eaten by a lion. They found him. His ribs were peeled open. All of his guts, all of his organs were missing, and his face was chewed off. And then they turned around, and the lion was right there. And they shot the lion. And but since then, people just get killed like on a regular basis. A 7-year-old kid was killed in Estes Park. He was hiking with his family. A 3-year-old kid disappeared and was eaten by a lion. And I think there were like maybe 15 people killed by lions in the last 20 years since then. But I think we're going to have even an uptick from that because people aren't that adventurous. People have never been that adventurous. Even now, I don't think we have gone into the golden age of adventurousness. We don't do night riding. When we do night riding, it's not that much, and it's only around within Boulder. Nobody goes out, especially by yourself, way up in the mountains at night on your bike all the time. Now imagine when everybody's doing that, and then people are doing it by themselves, even kids doing it by themselves. Way up through the middle of, like, it's pretty much like going through a wildlife sanctuary. If you're going through there on like a full moon in the middle of the night, it's like going through a wildlife sanctuary in like Africa with lions everywhere, lions, tigers, lions and bears everywhere. And so when all of a sudden there's humans there, they're going to attack you. And so I think the attacks on humans are going to go up. And so I think we need to be ready for them. Like when we start riding up there, you need to be ready. And I think if a lion does kill a person, you need to go up there and kill like 20 lions or something, you know, like show them who's boss. Because I thought I was a little hippie about it before, and I was thinking like, oh, poor lions, not enough lions, they're getting muscled out. And so my mom had her birthday party a couple days ago, and a dude who works for the Forest Service was at the party. And so I asked him questions. Because he's like one of the dudes, some of the big dudes in the Forest Service right here. And so I go, yo, what's the deal about, I mean, what do you think about lions? Like, do you think that they're getting muscled out? Because I remember my mom said, she's had this conversation, but somebody said, oh yeah, your bears are stressed, you know, like a Canadian. Our bears are free, your bears are stressed. So I go, yeah, with all the development up here, like, is it going to put a stress on the lions and bears, you know, like, and make them go extinct or whatever? He's like, no way, man, we have too many bears. Bears are all over the place, and lions too, man. And then I read about it on the internet, and they're like, oh yeah, lion population went up because the deer population went up because we stopped hunting them and all that kind of stuff. And so, you know, when you have the woods, even with all the houses we have, you have the woods, and you allow the deer to live, and then the lions are going to live. And so yeah, they're still here, and they're pretty and everything, and they don't normally attack you, but the way the animals did, you know, if they're hungry, they're going to attack you, and sometimes they'll attack you anyway because they are. I read a story about a dude. This is in 1905. He was in Africa, and he was like riding his horse at night, and he was like, I wasn't thinking about lions because I guess it was an area where there aren't lions. And then all of a sudden, I think he was by himself, and all of a sudden, a lion jumped up like from the bush, tackled him off of his. There were two lions. One of them tackled him off of his horse, and then the other one was on the other side of the horse, and he fell on top of the other one, and like I guess got his arm around the other one, but the other one bit into him and was dragging him, and had dragged him like 60 yards, but he had a knife, he had a 6-inch knife, and he waited, and he kind of felt where the heart was, and he waited right for the time to puncture, because he said if he got it wrong the first time, the lion would have knocked the knife out of his hand. So he got the lion twice in the heart, and then once in the jugular, and then the lion limped off, and then he ran up into a tree because the other lion ran after his horse. He knew that other lion was going to come back, so he got up the tree. The other lion came back, and then his friend came up 20 minutes later, and he said to jump in the tree, and he jumped in the tree just in time for the other lion to not attack him. And then they called out to their friends who were just a few minutes back, and then they shot the lion. And then they took him back, and he got really infected, but he survived. And then he told them to go back and get the lion, because he heard the lion die. The lion was in the bushes like 30 feet away, and he heard it having gargling its final breaths and die. And so they went back and cut the heart out and showed him like the puncture wounds in the heart. But so I want to read those stories, because I wanted to see if I'm going to develop a map for all of the endurance bikers around here, for, you know, all of the ghost towns and all the places to go, and where all the lions and bears are. We need to have a plan about the lions, protect the search about lions. So I'm going to make a page on how to fight a lion and the stuff you need to bring up there. You should bring 2 mace canisters, one on both sides of your jersey in the back, and then 2 like blades. I haven't researched it yet. I'm going to research it right now. I keep forgetting. But I want to get a blade where, like, I don't know if these exist, but like you stick your hands through them. Like you can put them on really quick. Oh yeah, maybe it's like a switchblade, because I don't want to have them like something that's sharp and on me, but maybe like a switchblade. You can put your hands in, and then it's like a Wolverine blade. Imagine if you had 2 6-inch Wolverine blades, because this is the motion that you'd want to do, because they'd be grabbing your neck. You have to get them like this, and then get them as they're coming after you. And so I think that with the mace. And also when you're biking up there at night, make sure you have like a camelback backpack on, and then on the top part of it have like a stuff sack, inflated stuff sack, so that when they come and get you, it decreases the chances that they're going to get your neck. Because if they get a good grip on your neck, then it's over. But if they don't get a grip on your neck, you have the upper hand. Like I read the biggest ones only get up to 160 pounds, so they're no bigger than you. And if you have this thing now, lions, they will heal from a huge gash. Cats will heal from that stuff, and it won't scare them away. But if you get them in an organ, they're going to run, and you're safe, and they're probably going to die. So, and maybe you can kill him and then cut his head off and bring it back, and then you have the bastard, the beast who tried to kill you. But but seriously, I mean, I don't want to like come across as a barbarian, like a bloodthirsty barbarian, but we have to have this idea because, look, if you're really a civilized person and a good person, the idea of a human being getting attacked and eaten and gruesomely devoured like that should make your blood boil. Okay? That should not be allowed. And it should make you really like say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Have a plan what we're going to do. And be prepared. And because animals, those lions, they don't attack us because they have this innate fear of us. But they're not going to have an innate fear if we just run away from them and we don't, and they kill us. And stuff. Well, plus you have to just be able to defend yourself. Maybe somebody should buy some kind of like neck guard that you can put on, or like maybe an extension for your helmet or something. So they bite that. I read of a story just outside of LA, a guy who got attacked by one. It bit his helmet at first. But yeah, I read a story of these people. You can read it on here. There's one website where they compile the stories. One dude had to jump up. This is, I think, right outside of Boulder. He had to jump up on like a tree, and like call people, and they had to come and, I think outside Estes Park, come and scare off the lion and kill it. So anyway, that should because people shouldn't be afraid, and especially if somebody gets killed, people shouldn't get all scared. People should be prepared from the beginning, so people don't get scared. People should go up there and feel free up there. And if somebody gets killed, you just have to reduce the population dramatically. Like it was interesting. Just recently, I was thinking, those darn mountain lion hunters. Like I saw a YouTube video of these guys hunting one. They shot one out of a tree, a big one, and it had like most dislikes. All these people cussing them out, and I was like, yeah, man, what retards? They should be out there mountain biking. But it's like, no. Sometimes, Luke, it's part of the natural nature. You have to be able to curtail the population of these things, and I don't want to kill a mountain lion. Unless obviously I would want to kill a mountain lion if it's on top of me, but I don't want to kill a mountain lion, shoot a mountain lion. So thank you for the soldier boys who go and shoot them down. And, keeping him in check. But there's really cool stories of lions, though. There's a story of Pliny. Oh, man, let me talk. Yeah, see, when I did the last video, I was just about to be done with Pliny. I was like 2 hours from being done with Pliny, and then I couldn't finish Pliny because I didn't have the Dragon Weaver. But yeah, I don't have it up yet, but I will put Pliny up when I'm done with this Google Earth, the town. And that's going to be cool because Pliny's organized really well. But so Pliny was talking about cool lion stories. There's this one story. This dude was being chased by a lion, jumped up. No. Yeah, this dude saw a lion, thought he was going to chase him, jumped up. I guess he was chased by a lion. Jumped up in a tree, and then the lion was just up there, like this, like imploring. And then he saw that there was a bone stuck in his tooth, and so the guy finally jumped down and pulled the bone out of the lion held his head up, and he pulled the bone out of the lion. And then the lion showed his thanks and accompanied him on the rest of his hike, dancing around. And then there was another guy who there's a girl who was a slave who escaped and was running back to her hometown through the wilderness. And then she was circled by a bunch of lions. And then she spoke to them and told them that she was just an innocent girl, not trying to hurt them, and just trying to escape from a mean man and go back to her family. And so they let her go because they understood what she was saying. There's lots of cool stories about dolphins too. There's this one dolphin who used to take a kid out on the ocean on his back, and once they went out in a storm, the kid drowned, and so the dolphin brought the kid back, and then the dolphin beached himself and died, killed himself, and then of course there's the story of the musician who he was thrown off the boat, and then the dolphins picked him up and carried him back to Greece. I believe that story because dolphins love music, So I'm sure they would because they're smart. So, lions, and so you should be prepared for those things. But it's cool that we live here, you know. And like I'd be scared if I was by myself, but to be out there and to see a lion. I saw a YouTube video of this dude walking down a trail, like in Bruce Plummer or something. He saw this huge, looked like a big old lion, you know. And then it starts coming at him at the trail, you know. And you know how cats are. They're like you don't know from their face expression. They could be your best friend, or they could be about to eat you, you know. So this guy's like, ah. So it kind of went off the trail and looked out there and went off. You know? That's kind of what you got to do. Don't try to pet him. But yeah, it would be cool to get him because then you could film with your phone, with maybe your GoPro thing or your phone. Film a lion up here. Because when people start going up here, they'll start seeing that. I saw a cub when I was like this big, when I was like 10. I got ahead of my family above Frisco, and I saw this cub, and then it darted off, and then I went up to my family camera. Maybe I was getting eyeballed by a real lion, but yeah, like the one that the guy stabbed. When they opened it up, it had an empty stomach, and so it was hungry. But he said when it was dragging him, he could hear it purring because it knew it was about to eat. And I just saw a YouTube video yesterday about some guy who got killed by a lion, the feeder. These idiots in some Asian country are not doing anything, and they're leaving the guy in the cage like, oh no, what to do? And it's being bitten, and the lion's purring. But yeah. Oh man, there was something else I was going to say, but I forgot. Yeah, trippy stuff. Yeah, and bears too. They sell bear mace, but the canisters are too big. Maybe, yeah, I should buy like portable bear mace. That would be a good thing. But not just mace, you want a knife too. Because like with a knife, that can do a lot more damage to a lion than like the claws of a deer. You know, a razor sharp knife. So anyway, yeah, I want to make like a page on my website that shows all the spots on him that can kill him, and the things to do, keep your neck down, just ways to get a lion, and all the stories of people. And then we should be okay and not be afraid, right? So what else? Oh yeah, caribou. Yeah, so not now, but maybe tomorrow, or maybe by the time you watch the video, by Christmas. Christmas present to everybody. Yeah, you can check out my Google Earth, check out my caribou, or just wait until I'm done, because then I'll do a video about it and explain it all on there. But, and let me tell you what else I'm going to do, because I even take it to the next level. So I'm going to do Caribou Town, the exact town with all 3,000 people, and name them, like all the, you know, like and the names. I mean the ages, because I have the data on the ages of the people. Average age of 30.5 years. There were like 100, when they did the census in 1880, there were 546 people, and I think 13.8% of them were kids. So that was like 169 kids or something like that, yeah, like 51% married people. There were 10 single women. 5 of them were widows. And there were 2. The oldest one was 71. The second oldest one was 70. The oldest was 73. Second oldest was 71. They were widows, lived with their sons-in-laws. And just plug that all in. But after that, I want to plug actual people here, because I was making my bike racer level page. And so because 3,000 people is how many people Mantinea is. Also, it's how big of like an army is. Like when they would have your first army, like when Romulus would get his army together, that was about 4,000 people. The legion, like a Roman legion, you know, that's kind of like your big army in Rome, and then you have like 30 legions in the Roman Empire. Well, the original legion, meaning of a legion, and what a legion came out with, was the entire army of your whole kingdom. It was your army. It was like the biggest unit of people you could throw down. So on the battlefield, and so it was about 4,000 people. You know, like 4,800 people. But then if you include everything, maybe 5,000 people. So and maybe like the first one. And so 3,000 people was the army of Mantinea. And so so like 3,000 to 4,000 or 5,000 people. And so, because Mantinea was kind of like, it was like a small city state. It was a budding one, but it was a good typical. Because it was a good typical of the smallest type of city state like that. So yeah, 3,000 people. It's an army. It's your unit of people. a community, you know. I think my high school was like 1,800. My college was 3,000 people. You know, it's like you could know everybody. There could be a bunch of people there who everybody would know. You know, it's like a community. So it's a good size of people. So, but also it's the exact number of people who are bike racers on Colorado and Boulder. If you look at all of the different Strava segments, the most popular Strava segments have about 3,000, just over 3,000 people. It's like 3,100 people, right? And so the slowest people on there probably would be about, if you were to get everybody, I guess, all the best people who are maybe, because I'm not just using Strava, but yeah, everybody, like maybe the slowest person at 3,000 would be about a racer level, 19 miles an hour. And so you could call it, so the depth talent pool of Boulder is 3,000 racers. Actual racers, like official racers on the Bike Racer level page. So you could put those exact 3,000 people up in Caribou and put them in actual towns and actual rooms up in Caribou. And so you would number the people in Caribou first, the real people there, in a priority. Like the first person would be the owner of the Sherman House, the biggest hotel there, and then all the people on Main Street, and then it would radiate out from there. And then the tent people would be like, you know, on the last people. And so if you were doing a bike racer, the tent people would be like the Cat 5s or something. Or maybe you would go it all the way into commuter. 3,000 people, people would get slow enough to go into the commuter level. So those would be like the commuters, you know, or you could call them the racers who are the Cat 5s. Yeah. So, and then, so yeah, you have all the different categories based on the colors of the buildings, but you also have the people. Oh, so you make a list of the 3,000 best racers in Boulder based on, because I already made the thing on my website, based on the time trials. All the time trials I have on my website, which are all the local time trials here, okay? You get all those people, and so you throw all those people in, and then maybe even the triathlons, the bike segments of the triathlons, throw those people in, and then you get a Strava segment, and you get all the Strava people in above that certain speed, or who make it, who qualify. And the time trial between Lyons to Boulder, because that's a good 10-kilometer time trial. It's not the fast one, but it's a Strava segment. And you would just adjust it all, and then you would find out exactly. You number them all down exactly, and know all of them, who all of them are. For example, if there's the triathlon bike split around the Haystack time trial, and the bike split around the triathlon, the 20-kilometer time trial triathlon, but it's slow. The guys are slower on that, so it must have been like a windy day or something. So you just take a name on there, because a lot of the names overlap. You take a name of one person, like the fastest lady on the triathlon, or the second fastest lady on the triathlon was in the Haystack time trial. So you just get her time, and then you just adjust all the people from the time trial according to that, and then you just bump their speed up like 3 miles an hour. And then you throw them in. And so you throw all of them together, including Strava, and then you get to 3,000 people. And it would be interesting to know what the slowest 3,000 of the 3,000 people are. Maybe it would work out to be racers. So you'd have we have an army of 3,000 actual racers here. And they live, and they have, etheric, you know how you have the etheric, the make-believe world on the computer, like World of Warcraft, and you have your body here, and then your avatar body. So you have your avatar body, bike racer avatar body, up in the imaginary, mythical, extinct town in the mountains. And so yeah, and then you can go up there and see where your house is, like see where I assigned you, the father of the city. And so as you become a better bike racer, you move up in the town, and so you get to learn the town that way, and it's another thing to be interested in. Isn't that interesting? You're actually building a community, literally, in the digital sense. You're being a computer nerd and being a facilitator to the athletic lifestyle as well. And the historic, Google Earth all that. Animals, living with the wildlife, fighting the lions and the bears, and like imagine somebody will probably one of these days YouTube a GoPro fight to the death with a lion. Okay, both winning and losing versions. I bet you it's gonna happen, man. I'll probably get entangled with a lion. I don't want to lose though. And if I do, get at least 20 of them for me. But yeah, you go. But you want to have your little backpack on. Oh yeah, I didn't mention. You also want to have your camelback backpack on because it gives you room to turn around, wiggle room. Because if he has your neck, you can't turn around. So you can do like that and then jab him. Slicing maneuver. Or maybe see, I want a switchblade, I guess, is what you need. You get a switchblade because then because the switchblade's not going to open accidentally in a crash. You have to like flip the switch and then push the button, Just get a good two high quality switchblades. Then you grab them and then you do, and then once you got a knife out, you have your jabbing motions, you have your slicing motions both ways, and then you can punch. And then if you have to, you can grab. Like if he bites you on your neck, you can grab the lower fang with this hand, the upper fang with this one, and tear his jaw off. So, but yeah, being prepared. I mean, living out here in Boulder, it's the shit. Like I'm like, ooh, Boulder. There's so much. And now with the mountain, I mean, the mountain village with all of the archaeological site. It'd be cool to go up there and to eat a bunch of salvia, smoke a bunch of salvia up there with somebody who got the balls to do it. Hey, shoe fly, whatever. Bar fighting. There's a picture of a bunch of dudes standing outside the bar. One dude's doing this. Yeah, 65% of them were for Cornwall, England. They weren't even American. And then it was 13% Dutch. I mean, Germans, and they were Dutch and Irish. The Dutch, Netherlands. That's where Netherlands comes from. Netherlands was called Nederland, the lowlands of the Caribou. But the place, it was totally funded by rich Europeans who never got their money back, and Americans who never got their money back. It was like a gambler's dream. So all the workers here just. But they dug a lot. They dug, I think, 270 feet down, 7 layers down. They made a tunnel that was 752 feet long just to drain a tunnel. And there were tons of mines up there. If you look at the deeds, there's just everywhere. So yeah, it'd be cool to make a little map of that. I don't know if Google Earth you can make tunnels go down yet. You can only have stuff come off the seafloor. But anyways, I think I've talked long enough. I think I'm hoping to have it done maybe in a couple weeks, a week or two. I'm working around the clock. It's like guitar riffs in the background. Okay. Holy shit, 57:40. I've almost gone an hour. Should I go another minute and 24 seconds? Just make it an hour? No, I don't really have anything else to say. That's really all. I was feeling kind of. I think yeah. Yeah. When am I going to be done? I can't look at myself. I'm totally distracting myself. I don't really. See, look, I was thinking recently that I'm probably going to have to make a map because I've been watching a lot of Young Turks. And there's a lot of, it's really easy these days with all the information with the Young Turks. I screen capture all the data they give, the percentages of, and I want to make charts and graphs and everything on my politics economics page of exactly the economic structure and who is getting paid off and bought off and who owns who and stuff. That'd be really interesting because if I don't do that, I might feel like another stupid, useless eater. And if I do that, then I'll be like, I did my part on the politics. It's a staph infection. That I've been squeezing and then it bled out because I think it may be a fatty lipoma. Imagine a fatty lipoma you squeeze so hard that you just pop all the skin on top of it because you're just like, yeah, I need to cut that out. I'm gonna cut that out one of these days. What was I talking about? Oh yeah. My project, yeah, so I'll just work as long as I need, man. You know what I mean? I have to do that. So it might be another year. It might be January 2018 where I get done instead of January 2017. But I might get bored faster. But it doesn't really matter. 59:23, that's an hour, and that's my video vlog of the day. Stay tuned for the Caribou in a couple weeks. Peace out. Happy Christmas. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and Hanukkah. Ciao.